So I knew this was coming, we just talked about it in a video yesterday, but I really didn't expect it to happen this soon. The McCree and Widowmaker nerfs have arrived. How's it going, everybody? Force here, and today I want to go into detail about what has changed, and then also talk with you about what that means for you in the game. What differences can you expect when playing as or against these heroes? Let's go ahead and start off with McCree. We already knew what was changing for him. They talked about that they didn't like the damage from his Fan the Hammer. They felt like he was too effective against killing tanks and they wanted to tone it down a bit. Well, they have done that. The damage from Fan the Hammer has been reduced from 70 to 45 per shot. So what does this mean? Well, versus non-armor targets, it used to deal 420 damage and then 840 damage after a combat roll. Those numbers are now reduced to 270 and 540. Against armored targets, the damage has changed from 390 and 780 to 240 and 480. So what does this mean? It means that it's still enough damage to deal with Tracer and Genji, the heroes that you're supposed to be able to take out very quickly. However, it also makes it a little bit harder for you to deal with Reaper, now as a single Fan the Hammer isn't going to kill him right away. It's also now much tougher against tanks, especially Roadhog. He's now going to have time to hook and one-shot McCree, even if McCree does his double combo and hits all of the shots. Roadhog's going to be a lot tougher, Reinhardt's going to be a lot tougher, Zarya's going to be tougher. She's going to have time to put up her bubble and counter McCree after he does his first Fan the Hammer. So they've done what they set out to do. They still want McCree to be strong against like Tracer and Genji, any of those light and medium heroes, but not as able to melt tanks anymore. There was also an additional change to McCree. The time between reloading for him has been decreased from 0.75 seconds to 0.3 seconds. Now this was a reverse from a prior patch in which it was nerfed. Essentially, this means he reloads faster after a Fan the Hammer. That has nothing to do with the combat roll instant reloading, but just when you're using Fan the Hammer and then that pause between when he reloads for be able to shoot again, that's been decreased. So he's actually able to have, I guess, more of an uptime, if you will, with this change. So all around, McCree nerfs make sense. They're doing what they set out to do. This isn't unexpected, and it's going to be interesting to see sort of how McCree plays into the meta right now. He's still doing what he was intended to do, which was melt those light and medium targets, with the exception of Reaper and then those tanks being a lot harder. He still fills his intended role. The question is now, are the other heroes going to become better alternatives for some of those higher health targets, like Reaper maybe as a better alternative? We'll see, I guess. And now let's move on to Widowmaker. We knew she was being changed, but we don't know exactly what was happening. There was a lot of speculation. No need to speculate anymore. Her snipe damage, the base damage, has been decreased from 15 to 12. And basically how this works is it's a ×10 modifier. So what this means is that a fully charged body shot has gone from 150 damage to 120 damage. She's still going to deal 300 damage as a headshot. Nothing about headshots are going to change. But body shots now only deal 120 damage. What this means is that she no longer one-shot body shots Zenyatta or Tracer as she did in the past. This gives them time to respond before the second shot. So Tracer can blink again, Zenyatta can try to get behind cover from something. It's a buff to those characters. It also makes it harder. It requires now 3 hits for her to body shot Reaper, but those headshots are still just as strong, which means a skilled Widowmaker is going to be just as deadly. They just won't be getting those easier, heavy damage dealing shots off. So definitely a nerf to her, no question about that. There was also another change, which is a nerf as well, and they've changed it so that players can only re-enter sniper mode after the exit sniper mode animation finishes. Now basically what this does is it nerfs the quick scoping that you were seeing a lot of players doing, and they were doing that to increase the charge time. Normally if you had a full charge shot and you just waited in the scoped animation for it to go back up, it took more time than if you unscoped and rescoped, and that's why you're seeing a lot of professional players doing that exact thing. They would shoot, unscope, and rescope real quickly. It would do 2 things. It would charge a little bit faster, but it would also give them a view of their surroundings when they're not scoped. Now you have to wait for that full animation to finish before you can rescope again, essentially making it so that it doesn't charge any faster if you unscope and rescope. I haven't tested the numbers, but it might actually charge slower if you do it that way now. And then lastly, there was a slight nerf to her ultimate. The ultimate, in terms of how it functions, is staying the same. It's just that the ultimate charge cost has been increased by by 10%, basically meaning it's going to take longer in between charges, so it won't be active quite as often. So that's it, guys. Those are the changes that are coming through. The McCree one we expected. The Widowmaker one, it makes a lot of sense. Zenyatta is going to have a much easier time now if there's an opposing Widowmaker on the other team of being able to stay alive. All right, guys, well, that is basically going to do it. I want to know what you guys think about these changes now that they are official, now that they're going through. How do you feel about the nerfs to both McCree and Widowmaker? Do you think they were justified? And do you think this is going to change much, or will these two heroes still be played just as often? Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic afternoon, and until next time, I'll see you later.